Euphorbia Flanaganii, also known as the Medusa's head, is an unusual succulent native to South Africa. It resembles the head of Medusa, who was a monster figure in Greek mythology with serpent-like creatures growing out of her head. In this video, we'll have a look at how to care for this amazing succulent and also how to propagate it. The Medusa's head is a pretty easy succulent to grow. It prefers a shaded but bright position, though it will tolerate direct sun as well. Sun can, however, change its color to brown reddish and can also cause burns when it gets too hot. Our nursery plants permanently live under 30% shade cloth. Good light exposure should result in nice compact growth. If the plant is in too much shade or indoors, the tentacles or snakes will get too leggy and sparse. Euphorbia Flanaganii will thrive in high-quality succulent potting mix and should be repotted every year or two so it has enough nutrients to grow well. Water well every time the potting mix dries out. In my experience, the Medusa does not mind being out in the rain as long as the potting mix is well draining and the pot has a hole. This succulent is not frost tolerant and will need to be brought indoors if your winters are cold. It is very likely the Medusa will lose its tiny leaves over the winter months. The leaves can also go yellow. The Medusa is prone to creating crested growth. Cresting is a mutation and can be just left attached to grow or can be cut off and grown separately. Crested succulents are rarer and usually sold for quite a bit more than the original. There's also a few slightly different cultivars going around. Some have thicker branches with larger leaves, while the others grow more slender. One of my favorite things about the Medusa's head is the lack of pests. It can get the occasional scale or a mealybug, but they are quite uncommon. Do check on the roots from time to time, as root mealybugs can sometimes take hold and cause problems. The easiest way to propagate Euphorbia Flanaganii is by cuttings of its branches. I usually wait for the branches to grow small heads that already have little snakes of their own, but branches without snakes can be cut off as well. Before you handle this plant, do go and put some gloves on. The Medusa is filled with a white gluey sap that can be quite dangerous if it gets into the eyes and can also cause skin irritations. When taking cuttings, make sure you allow for a little bit of a stalk. The cuttings should be left to dry for about 24 hours so the wound seals itself. This will prevent all sorts of nasties from getting into the cutting once they are planted. Any of these other branches will eventually produce a head once they root and grow a bit. In my opinion, go for the bigger bottom branches for faster results. The thinner the branch, longer it will take for the head to form. It may take some time before a small branch like that grows any of its own snakes, but they will eventually get there. This plant started off just as a single branch and it took a little over a year to get the head to this size. The bigger Medusa is about 2 years old and has been repotted twice, so it has plenty of root space to facilitate growth. When it comes to rooting and growth, much will depend on the seasons and where in the world you are. In colder climates with frosty winters, it may take longer for plants to grow. Propagating should be done in spring so the plant has plenty of time to establish. I'm going to take one more cutting of this little crest. Now I'll leave all of the cuttings for about a day in a dry spot so the wounds can seal. A word of advice: clean all of your cutting tools after using them on any euphorbia, as the sap is sticky and can clog them up. To put up the smaller cuttings, I'm going to use tubes as they save space for me, and also Euphorbia Flanaganii seems to particularly like them. The bigger crested cutting will go into a 10 cm or 4 inch pot. Making a hole in the center will help stabilize the cutting and also make it easier to insert the stem. Pop the cutting in and pat down the soil around it. You want to get the head as close to the soil level as possible, otherwise you'll end up with a stalk which will eventually start bending as the head grows heavier. If you're struggling to get the stalk in, you can always cut it down a bit, though you'll also need to let the wound dry out again. This is another reason why I like using tubes. They are deep and have plenty of room for longer stalks. With this single branch, go as deep as possible. The top will slowly start transforming into a head once the plant roots. When the cuttings start growing, the long branches can be cut off to encourage more compact growth on the top of the head. And that's it! We have 4 new little plants that will take approximately 3 to 4 weeks to send roots. The Medusa's head can also be grown from seed. When the small yellow flowers get pollinated, a seed pod will form. This is what it will look like. It will first need to dry out, and then the tiny seeds can be sown into damp potting mix. To be honest though, I don't usually bother with seeds as they take way too long to grow into a decent sized plant. Cuttings are much faster and easier. And that's it for today. I hope you found this video useful, and if you have any questions at all, you can leave them below in the comments and I will do my best to answer. If you'd like to learn more about succulents, you can subscribe to our channel or visit our website succulentgrowingtips.com. We also grow and sell Medusa's head on our website fernfarmplants.com.au, so if you live in Australia, you can buy some. Thank you very much for watching.